All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barak Tehawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson.
All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barak Tehawa.
The name of this one is The Influence of Western Culture. And in the live lesson yesterday, I had mentioned that I wanted to do a lesson kind of land back and a little off of Elder Apostle Gabar's video that he did concerning the ancient world versus the modern world or something along those lines. I can't really remember the actual title. But that thought of Western mentality, Western culture, and such, came into mind. And I figured through the Spirit that would be a good lesson to go into, because the mind state of the Israelites today, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, have been shaped by modern thinking, which is this Western way of life. And I just knew that when I typed in Western culture or Western civilization or something along those lines, that it was going to say that the definition would say that it was dealing solely with America. But I found out different, through some research that I was doing. So Lord's will, in this lesson will be edifying to show you how the influence of Western culture shaped the new thinking that Jake has today. These other nations on this side that have been on this side of the world, and how it's being changed back to its original, what it was originally meant to be, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, His words that are given through the Holy Spirit to break down these strongholds that have been set up by Esau to pretty much change the minds of the people of the Lord so that they can be influenced and pay homage to him, to Esau. And that whole picture of Caesar Borgia / Serapis Christi, Salaka, is an inside joke, Serapis Crispy. All of that has shaped the minds of the modern day Israelite, and this is why it's going into this is why the mindset of the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian man / woman are thinking the way they're thinking today, because there has been a process of deception, that has been put into or programmed into their brain, by this Western mentality, through schools, through TV and radio, and just different mantras and sayings that have been pushed out there, by pundits, and flunkies of the New World Order, but you can't say New World Order, because if you say New World Order, then you're a conspiracy theorist. But let's start off with this saying here. Let me switch over here. I'm going to start off with this saying by this devil, Albert Einstein, but it is a profound statement and a profound saying. So we're going to start off with that. It says, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And this is true. This is a very profound statement that this devil, Albert Einstein, made. Now I don't know if he made it himself, he stole it from somebody. You never know with these devils, but nevertheless, it is a profound statement. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And this is the situation we find ourselves in today. When you're out there, when we're out there on the streets, breaking the scriptures down, You know, you have these Israelites out here that are coming with this mindset that has been taught to them by their slave master, you know, through plantation Christianity. So how can you solve the problem that you're in, that you've been in since you've been in this country, by the same way of thinking that got you in that position in the first place? You know, this plantation Christianity has been here for the last, what, 500 years or so, or plus, you know? And what has it changed, really? What has it really changed? It hasn't changed anything. It hasn't even changed the minds or the mindset of the Israelite man slash woman, you know, in this country. Now, on another note, this truth of the of us being the Hebrew Israelites and going back to the law, knowledge of the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Shai has mentally changed Jake and has mentally freed Jake from these chains that Esau has put on, you know, our people for all this time, you know. And matter of fact, let me go real quick before we move on. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 10th chapter, and then we're going to get into some of these articles, which I posted all the articles in the description box. So you brothers, I already saw Elder Ariala in there, so I know he's digging on this topic. So I'm pretty sure he's going to dig in and get some goodies out of those articles that I posted. This is Isaiah chapter 10, verse, through the Spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai, of course. Isaiah 10 and 27, and it shall come to pass in that day. What day? This is the day when the Lord is coming to free us. But before the Lord can free us, he has to free us mentally, because we were not only in bondage physically, we were also in bondage mentally. And that is one of the hardest bondages to go through, because you're both in bondage in your mind and in your physical person. Are you threatening me? Are you threatening my physical person? It's an inside joke. So it says, and it shall come to pass in that day. It says that's right, that the elder said, indoctrination. And there's another term called inculcation, which inculcation is to impress upon the mind by constant repetition. And this is what we have here today with this Western culture, this Western mentality. You know, what you're going to find out started in Greece and Rome, because that was the beginning of Western culture or Western thinking. Started in Greece, Rome, and those Western states or Western countries in Europe. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder. What burden? The mental burden, because at one time, and you would go crazy if you didn't understand why you found yourself in this condition and why this devil, the so-called white men, the Edomites, were over us. You know, why are they over us? Why are they treating us like this? Why, you know, does it seem like there's no escape? You see? So the burden is being taken off of our shoulder, but it's being taken off of our shoulder mentally first, and then it's going to be taken off physically. It says, and his yoke from off thy neck. See? So the mindset that we had at one time is being changed now. And the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. And Lord's will, we may come back to the scripture. So the anointing is what? This knowledge, the oil of this knowledge, the truth, the understanding, to get a better understanding of why we're in this condition. Why are we in such a low condition? Why are we up under this beast? Why are we up under this devil that is nothing but a destroyer? Why does he keep treating us the way he treats us? You know, why can't we get ahead? Why is it that we're always behind the 8 ball? You know, why is it that we live in the ghettos and the slums and all of that? Why? Well, the anointing is what's teaching us why. You know, so that's why Yahweh said, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So through the truth of Yahweh Bashim Shai, which is the real truth, we have been made mentally free. You see, which is the first step of getting out of captivity. All right, so now let's go here. This is the difference between East and West in terms of culture and education. Now, this they want you to to actually sign up for it, I'm pretty sure it's not, you don't have to pay, but in order to unlock some of the other stuff, you have to sign up, and I didn't feel like doing all that. So I'm just going to use part of this and then jump to some of the other articles that I have. It says, curious about the Western world versus the Eastern world. Culture differences are a very hot topic in business as well as at holiday parties. Today, we bring a guest writer, Lim Chui, from Hong Kong to share about this East-West debate. Let's dive in. Western culture, as specified in the cultural map above, is defined by the following. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are some common religions practiced in the Western world, which is what? Freedom of religion. The population in Western countries is more liberal than those in the East. Why? Because here you've been taught about choice. You've been taught do as thou wilt. You've been taught that you can do whatever you want, whatever feels good. But when you go back to the Eastern philosophy, which they get from the scriptures and even word of mouth back when the laws were oral, you had nations back there had a certain cultural morals that they knew not to cross over or for lack of better words, defraud the person that was in their vicinity. It says the Westerners are more open and blunt. Why? Because this is what you were taught. For example, topics like sex or birth of a child are openly discussed in Western culture, whereas in the East, these topics are still taboo because there was a certain time when these things were discussed. But now you have pedophiles and you have drag queens and you have schools that are teaching children from the age of 5 and up or around that time frame that it's okay to choose to be a homosexual or to like men, boys like boys and girls like girls. If a boy feels that he's really a woman trapped in a man's body, he can wear a dress, So they teach these things in school. As to where in the ancient world, when a child is 4, 5, 6 years old, they don't know anything about no sex. It's about teaching them, how to have respect, teaching them how to have responsibilities, and different things of that nature, raising up a boy to be a boy, to do things that boys do, raising up a woman to do womanly things, so that when they grow up, those characteristics are built into them. Like the scriptures say, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he shall not depart from it. And these are things they're not teaching our children here in the Western world. They're teaching them the total opposite. They're teaching them to be slobs. They're teaching them to be immoral. They're teaching them to disrespect their parents, to disrespect their elders. Shit, when we were growing up, we were taught that yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, and to address older people with respect. Here, it ain't like that. You old nigga, you have a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old calling an older person or old nigga or old bitch, But this is part of the Western culture, the Western world. People from the West are more open to expressing their feelings. If they are angry, they vent it out. But people in the East may hold it in for tact and good manners. Also, one's own choice is given preference over the families. A person from the West is more flexible and free to make decisions on his own, unlike those in the East. Arranged marriages are not all common in the West, for they believe in love and the basis as the basis for marriage, which love is not the basis for marriage. That's bullshit. The basis for marriage will be the father choosing a man that will be suitable for his for his daughter. And that he would know that this man would be able to take care of her. And the love part would come later because the woman would grow into that, to loving her husband. But the father would choose the right man because he wanted the best for his daughter. He wanted a man that had a good name, that was an honest man, that wasn't a thief, that wasn't a murderer, that wasn't all of them things that they push in the Western world. But these women want so-called bad boys that go to jail and pop other men in the ass or get popped in the ass, and then they come out and have sex with them and give them all kind of diseases. Oh, but he got tattoos all over him. He's a thug. But this is shit that they taught here in the Western mindset. As to in the Eastern mindset, the father would choose the husband for the daughter based off of how that man, his name, because there's a name. The name is everything. It has been said that East and West can never meet up. They differ in history. They not only differ in history, they differ because the mindset has been changed by the devil that's ruling. It says religion, political system, and so on. Differences are also clearly seen in the Eastern and Western ways in dealing with education. So now let's go. Now let's go back. Let's go to this one here. This is Westernization. So we're going to read some of this and we're going to get some precepts, Westernization, right? It says Westernization, I'm just going to skip through all this, is a process whereby societies come under or adopt Western culture in areas such as industry, technology, laws, politics, economics, lifestyle, diet, clothing, language, alphabet, religion, philosophy, and values. And the values here of America are not the values of the scriptures. Now, the other nations, they could do whatever the hell they want to do. But you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, you have a culture. You have a nationality. You have a set of rules and regulations that you must abide by. And here in the Western world, we can't keep it 100%. But what do? We rehearse the righteous acts to the best of our abilities. Let's go to Judges chapter 5. Went to Jude, okay. Judges chapter 5 and verse 11. It says, "They that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the place of drawing waters," meaning here in America, in the land of our captivity, where the Lord is going to destroy this place by thermonuclear destructions, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, which the righteous acts of the Lord, or rehearsing, means to recount, but also not only to speak of them, but also to put them into action, because faith without works is what? Is dead. So there shall they rehearse the righteous act of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates. Why? Because the gates would be where the leaders were that would teach them of the law, statutes, and commandments. So this is what's going on right now. But you have the majority of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, that are not listening, that are not taking this into account. Like Yahweh Shai spoke of in the book of Matthew, the 11th chapter. Excuse me. In the 16th verse, "But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like unto children sitting in the markets and calling unto their fellows." So here it is, the leaders that the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai set up are calling to the children in the markets, in the Agora, in the Broadways, in the different places out there in the streets, in the lanes of America and around the world. It says, "And saying, we have piped unto you." So we're singing unto you. We're playing the instruments, and you have not danced, and you ain't bopping to the tune. It says, "We have mourned unto you, and you have not lamented." Why? Because destruction is coming, and we're letting you know that the destruction is coming, but you're not getting yourself prepared. You're not having that sorrowful heart, that repentant heart. You're not being sorrowful for the things that are coming, for the wickedness that you're doing. Therefore, you're going to be destroyed. So going back, it says Westernization has been a growing influence across the world in the last few centuries, with some thinkers assuming Westernization to be the equivalent of modernization. And pretty much it is, because everything has been modernized, and this is why you have a culture that you have today, where people can make decisions based off of what the government says. What the government says is okay, but not based off of what the scriptures say. Because the best way to make decisions is based off of the right way, the right law, statutes, and commandments to follow by. And everything that we need to know to live a righteous life to the best of our ability is all contained within the scriptures, whether it's contained in the law, whether it's contained in the book of Psalms, whether it's contained in the Proverbs or in Ecclesiastes or in the books of the Apocrypha or in the history or in the New Testament values, how to conduct ourselves. As I mentioned yesterday, MCDC, which is the 4 sets of laws: moral, civil, dietary, and ceremonial. And if you keep those to the best of your ability, you're doing okay. But no, not in this society. In this society, they teach you how to think in modern terms. Oh, the Bible, those are the Bible days. These are the new days now. Those are old days. You know, that's done away with. And that's what they'll say, that the laws of the Lord are done away with. But that's not the case. That is the furthest thing from the truth. When you go to Romans, the 3rd chapter, which the Apostle Paul, you know, he spoke about casting everything out, calling everything dung. His position, you know, of prestige, you know, in the eyes of the Pharisees and them back then. You know, he had a very high position, but he counted all that dung, you know. But even in all of that, he still didn't say, well, you know what, the hell with the laws, you don't got to keep the laws anymore. Nah, that's not the case. Romans 3:31. Do we then make the void the Salakia? Do we then make void the law through faith? So because we have faith, does that mean that we get rid of the law? They'll do away with the law. Now we don't have to keep the law no more because we have faith. No, because it says that faith without works is dead. So if you have faith, what do you have faith in? And if you have faith, how do you show your faith? By doing the works. And what are the works? Things that are contained in the scriptures. Teaching this word, going out on the highways and the byways, edifying, feeding the sheep and the lamb, and also applying the things that are in the scriptures. Loving your brother, wearing your beard, not wearing women's clothing, not being a homosexual, not being an adulterer, not being covetous. You know, this is how you show your faith, which all goes back to what? To the law. So it says, do we then make void the law through faith? The Most High forbid. Yea, we establish the law, meaning we make it a standard, because the law is the standard. We understand we can't keep it 100%, but we do the best that we can, and the Lord takes care of the rest. So now let's look up this word establish real quick. Salaki, brothers. Histemi, right? Histemi. It says to cause or make to stand. See why? Because this is the standard. Matter of fact, let's go here. We'll come right back to that. Psalms chapter 60, verse 4. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of the truth. Salah. So this is the standard. This is what the banner that we put up, which is what? The law, statutes, and commandments. Because this is what everything is being measured by. You know, it's not being measured by what's written in the Quran or the Egyptian Book of the Dead or the laws of Esau. It's being based off the scriptures. Now, people say the law is done away with. I thought about this the other day, just meditating. I said, well, if the laws are done away with, then why is the Most High going to bring judgment upon the earth? You know, and I picture myself, you know, talking to a so-called Christian. I don't know why, but just asking them that question and having them and hearing them say to me, you know, well, because of iniquity. So what is iniquity? Iniquity is a transgression of the law. That's sin. Which sin is a transgression of the law. So why is the Most High going to destroy this place? Because of their transgressing his laws and teaching people to do so. So if that's the case, how can the laws be done away with? Just on simple logic thinking like that. You know? So now going back, matter of fact, before I go back, let's go to Isaiah 13 real quick. The burden of verse 1, the burden of Babylon, which is America, Babylon the Great, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain. So the high mountain being America, the banner being the Bible, because the Bible is a standard. That's why it says, if any man have the word of the Lord, let him speak the words of the Lord faithfully. And I'm just quoting the best I can. Exalt the voice unto them. When you exalt your voice at somebody, you're telling them off. Shake their hand. Same thing when you're shaking the hand, you're telling them off, that they may go into the gates of the nobles, and that's what they're doing. This is why they're paying these agents to come to be scoffers, to come to the camps, to try to engage brothers, to get carnal. That's why they're paying certain guys off to go out there and show off their guns and all this stuff, because they're trying to make this as it's a carnal group. Oh, that's no different than the Black Panthers and the Blackstone Rangers and the Young Lords and the Brown Berets and all them different paramilitary groups. Those rebel groups of the 60s and 70s and 80s. That's how they're trying to paint it, because they know that spiritually, going into the scriptures, they can't stop it. They've tried it. They've tried to change it. They tried to infiltrate and change the doctrine. But every time they do that, the word just keeps growing and growing and growing, because they thought that when they got hold of One West, and to show you how much of a threat this truth is, they got hold of One West, they infiltrated it, they closed it down because that school is no longer there. They moved the school down a few blocks down to Madison Avenue, right? And they changed the whole doctrine, but the word is still out, because the Lord caused a small contingency of men to leave there and to keep the right way, because the Lord already knew what was coming down the pike. So everything they tried, because they thought that it was dead. They said, finally, we got him. We shut him down. Got that old big fat greasy clown to call himself the comforter and to change the doctrine. They finally got they thought they finally got rid of this. But no, all it did was just went underground for a little while. And then eventually what happened? When the time was right, the Lord opened the platform of this internet, and look at it now. The different so-called One Western groups, as they call us. Because they can't stop the prophets of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right. So now let's go back here. It says, a way of thought that is often debated. The overall process of Westernization is often two-sided, and that Western influences and interests themselves are joined with parts of the affected society. At minimum, to change towards a more Westernized society, because they're trying to get rid of the old paths. But the old paths is where it's at. Let's go real quick to Job. I believe that's Job. Is that Job 8? There was another one that came into mind. I just don't want to lose the. Let's go back. Job 8. Is that Job 8? Yes, beautiful. Job 8:8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. Why? Because the old ways and the old days and the old ways, that's where it's at. Because that's where we find true righteousness, which is going to be a part of the second covenant, with the laws being put into our inward parts to set up on earth a righteous earth again, because this earth is totally demonic and wicked. Now let's go to the next one. Jeremiah 6:16. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, stand ye in the ways and see, ask for the old paths. See, what are the old paths? This truth. It says, where is the good way? Because this is the good way. That's why it tells you that. Before we read on, let's go to Isaiah 30:20. We'll jump back. It says, and though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thy ears shall hear a word behind thee. Because if you're hearing a word behind thee, obviously you're going down the wrong way. Saying, this is the way, walk ye in it when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. So now the brothers that woke up, when we woke up, the Lord made us do 180 degrees from where we were heading and turn us back into the right path. This is the good path that we're on. So Jeremiah 6:16, thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and you shall find rest for your souls. But what happened to the majority of Israel? They didn't want that rest. But they said, we will not walk therein, because the Lord rejected them. Is that Isaiah 30? I don't know why that popped up, but let's see. It might be the 28th chapter. Let's see, Isaiah 28. Yep. Isaiah 28:11. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest, wherewith you may cause the weary to rest. And this is the refreshing, yet would they not hear. See, but the ones that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof, the Lord put a different spirit on them to hearken, to hear, to accept, to be sealed. All right. It says, so now let's go from there. Let's go back. Did I finish that in Jeremiah 6? But they said we will not walk there and come. We finished there. So now let's go back here. With the putative goal of attaining a Western life or some aspect of it, while Western societies are themselves affected by this process and interaction with non-Western groups. Westernization traces its roots back to ancient Greece. Later, the Roman Empire would take on the first process of Westernization as it was heavily influenced by Greece and created a new culture based on the principles and values of the ancient Greek society. So pretty much this new way of thinking started with the Greeks and the Romans. And remember, Esau says that society, civilization started with the Greeks. What civilization? The civilization of the Edomites. The civilization of the rebels, the Antichrist, with the S at the end, the anti-Mashiachim, the devil, the Satans, the adversaries of the Lord. That's when it started with them. That's what really started with Esau. Not civilization as a whole. That's right. And like the brother Sean Moore put, Greeks and Romans were homosexuals and pagans. That's right. And they pushed that homosexual pagan spirit on the world. Which Lord's will we can get some precepts on that. So now let's see what else we got. Hold up. Let me see something. What do we have here? All right. Yeah, I'm gonna skip to the next one. This is Western world. I'm going to just jump down. The Western world, also known as the West, refers to various nations depending on the context, more often including at least part of Europe, Australasia, and the Americas, with the status of Latin America in dispute. There are many accepted definitions, all closely interrelated. The Western world is also known as the Occident, from the Latin word occidens, sunset, west. In contrast to the Orient, from the Latin word oriens, rise, east, or Eastern world. Ancient Greece and ancient Rome are generally considered to be the birthplace of Western civilization. It keeps referring back to Greece and Rome. It says the former due to its impact on philosophy, democracy, science, and art, building designs and proportions, architecture. The latter due to its influence on law, warfare, governance, republicanism, engineering, and religion. Western civilization is also founded upon Christianity, which is in turn shaped by Hellenistic philosophy. See, so this so-called Christianity was what's shaped by Hellenistic philosophy, because this is that plantation Christianity. This goes back to Serapis Christus. This the form of Christianity that's being worshipped here in America and around the world goes back to that. It doesn't go back to Yahushai. It goes back to a pagan god. And this is why you have what's known as plantation Christianity, because they use their image to deceive the people. All right. Judaism and Roman culture, likewise, the ancient Hellenes or Greeks, had been affected by ancient Near East civilization, including Judaism and early Christianity. Let's see, there was something else here. Let's see, was there nations, Western economic influence posed upon most nations. With the discovery of America, of the American continent, the New World in 1492-93, the European colonial age of discovery and exploration was born, revisiting an imperialistic view accompanied by the invention of firearms, while marking the start of the modern era. See, because this started the modern era. And what happened was, from beginning with Greece and Rome, that Western type mentality was carried on to this side of the world. During this long period, the Catholic Church had inaugurated a major effort to spread Christianity in the New World, to convert the Native Americans and others. And what type of Christianity was that? That plantation Christianity, which would mentally enslave these Israelites that were already here. And this is why it is written first in Isaiah 60, which we go to all the time, in verse 2, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. And this is how they did it, through their deception. But the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. So when the glory of the Lord rose upon us through the men that Yahweh Bashem El Shai set up, that's when the veil that was cast was pulled away. The wool was pulled away off the eyes of all peoples, well, not all peoples, but the ones that the Lord awoke. Isaiah 25:7, like when you watch that movie Dark City. It's a very good movie to watch. It says, and he will destroy in this mountain. The Most High will destroy or destructure in America, the American government, because this truth started where? In America. It's no coincidence that it didn't start in Europe. It didn't start in Canada. It didn't start in South America or Mexico or Africa or Australia or China. It started here in so-called America, Babylon the Great. So on this mountain, the Lord is going to destroy or destructure the face of the covering cast over all people, meaning this covering, or these lies that have covered the truth, because the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. So the Lord used his men to unveil that, to pull back the veil, like Toto, the dog Toto, did in the Wizard of Oz, when he pulled back the curtain and revealed the devil that was doing all that wickedness. It says, and the veil that is spread over all nations. So this is what we have right now, to where all of that lies and all of that deception and all of this way of thinking of Esau that he has pushed upon the people, now the men of the Lord are seeing right through it. That's why Yahweh said, if it were at all possible, they would deceive the very elect. You see? But they won't be able to. So they use their religion. They use their colonization. They use the strength of conquering the people physically. Then they conquered them mentally. You know, back then through fear, also through the separation of families, to raise up the children the way they want to raise them up. And this is the reason why women's lib was set up, to empower the so-called woman to a certain degree, you know, to break up the family, but also to be able to have the woman have to work, so he can also tax her. So that way, when the father and the mother are away at work, where are the children? In daycare, in public schools. And what are they teaching them in these public schools? The indoctrination of the Western world. That's it. So now let's go from there to First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus, this is the Greek Empire, wrote to his whole kingdom, and this was a term known as what? Hellenization, where they impressed or actually fed the people their way of thinking, to leave the laws, statutes, and commandments of their fathers, their God, their beliefs, to embrace the beliefs of the Greeks. Hellenization. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom, meaning it was a law that was implemented in his kingdom, that all should be one people, bringing this new world order. But today it's just a conspiracy theory, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So you had a lot of heathens out there, these different nations that became Hellenized also, and some of them left their cultures. Some of them heathens left the cultures of their forefathers and embraced the culture of the Greeks, because that was a prominent religion or prominent belief system back in the ancient world. As to where today you have what's known as what? Americanization. It says, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. And that's why you have a lot of Jakes today that are all up in these different churches, you know, doing the same thing they were doing back then. It says, and sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. And they're doing that today. because a lot of them worship the Sabbath on what? On so-called Sunday, which is a pagan. You know, a lot of them sacrifice unto idol, which is what? Going into these different churches, having the picture of a Caesar Christus or Serapis Borgia in their mind, you know, and paying homage to a so-called white god, which is really a red god, and not the power of the heavens, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It says, oh snap, check it out. Yeah, the brother from Mexico said Mexico copied even the name, the political name of the country. It's called the United States of Mexico. He said pure garbage. That's right. And shalom to the Akim on the comment boards in shalom, hermano, allá fuera en Mexico. Shalom, shalom to all the Akim, and if there's any sisters watching, shalom to you too. It says, for the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. And this here was the start of Western mentality. And that's what you have here today. So Esau here in the Americas, they don't do anything prolific. They just copy things in the past that work, different formulas that work for the ancients, and they just apply the same formula every time. There's nothing prolific about Esau. He's the basis of men. And forbid burnt offerings, it says, and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. So pretty much this is what they've done. They've changed everything. This is why Jake will prefer to worship Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter instead of worshiping their true high holy days in the scriptures, like Passover, the Feast of First Fruits, Feast of Tabernacles, Purim, so on and so forth, Hanukkah. So they have feasts that they can celebrate and have this even a better time, because the feast that they would celebrate according to the scriptures would be pleasing to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But they want to worship the culture of Esau, which Jake always did. That they always fled to the culture of the other nations. Matter of fact, let me go here real quick to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2 and verse 11. Hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? These nations haven't changed that. But my people have changed their glory for that which does not profit. And that's why at one time the whole nation of Israel lost their way. But all these different nations, they're still holding on to, even though some of them are dealing with America, but the majority of, well, some of them anyway, are still keeping to their old customs, to their the beliefs that they had, you know, in the past. Now jumping down to the 36th verse, it says, why gottest thou abroad so much to change thy way? And that's Jake. Jake has done, I mean, they've done backflips to change their ways. To what? To please these devils, you know, they pretty much stray further and further away from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And this is why Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai said, he said damn, I just lost my train of thought. Salaki, brothers. Why gettest thou about so much to change thy ways? And pretty much they left the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai to worship things that have no profit, you know. All right, so now let's go back to here, to First Maccabees 1:46, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, that sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. And Jake is still doing this to this very day. But now, well, back then some of them were doing it willfully or willingly, but some of them were doing it by constraint. You know, but now Jake is just, you know, go and worship, you know, a so-called white god, a red god, a Edomite god. Then they're in the same place where they worshiping that, they're cooking abominations, which some of them were forced to do in the ancient world. They're just doing it freely. It says, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And these different laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord have been changed by Esau. This is Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High. And that's all they do is pop off on the Most High. You know, saying how the Most High is some of them say he's a so-called white man. Some of them even go as far as saying that there's no God. Some of them even go as far as saying that the Most High is dead because he hasn't really made his presence known yet. It says, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. And they've done that, and think to change times, which they've done, and laws, you know, because in the scriptures, it tells you what to do with a homosexual, a lesbian, a rebellious child. It gives you different scenarios of things to do. But in this society, they do the total opposite. That's what the Lord said unto the wicked. The Lord said, what have thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenants in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instructions, and castest my words behind thee? Because America is supposed to have been set up upon so-called Christian principles that go back to the Bible, but they don't keep anything that's in the Bible. Nothing. The only thing that they do is they hold the book up for power and control of the people. But then when you go into looking into their laws and the penal codes, everything goes contrary to what's written in the scriptures. It says, and they shall be given into his hand until the time and times, and the dividing of time. And guess what? You're at the time now where there is no more time. You know, you're at the time now where you're about to be dismantled, or you're actually being dismantled now, destructured, and you're going to be destroyed very soon. All right, so now what do we have next? Habakkuk 1:11. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power unto his God, because that's what they do. They give homage to their God. You know, this is why they put their face around the whole world. And guess what? The majority of people around the world bow down to them. But the Lord said that he has reserved 7,000 men that have not bowed the knee to Baal, nor to his image. Because you're going to have a certain amount of Israelites on the planet that are going to be sealed, that are going to be the men of the Lord, that are going to teach his word, that are not going to fall for the okie doke, that are not going to bow down to this devil's will, no matter what. Some unto death, but the majority will be preserved. So what else do we have? So before we read on anymore, let's go. This is Eastern world. The term Eastern world refers to various cultures of social structures and philosophical systems, depending on the context, most often including the least part of Asia, or geographically the countries and cultures east of Europe, the Mediterranean region, and the Arab world. Specifically in historical pre-modern context, and in modern times in the context of Orientalism. And when you look at these religions of the East, a lot of them have qualities and customs that you can see in the scriptures, because the scriptures were the written law of what was oral back then. And a lot of them followed certain oral traditions, you know, that you find in the Bible. You know, like when you go to when you see this movie called Lone Survivor, right? It was about these four believe they were Marines, 4 Edomite Marines, and they went into Afghanistan to take out this one individual, and they ended up getting found out, and they ended up chasing them. You know, them Afghanis were chasing them, and man, they were getting shot. They were falling off down hills, busting themselves up on rocks, and still going. So they killed 3 of them. You know, and then the one guy that Mark Wahlberg played, he survived and ran into this village, and the people of the village protected him because they had an old custom, which goes back to the scriptures of, you know, when somebody came, you know, under your roof, you were supposed to protect them. Now, I believe the character that Mark Wahlberg played was really an Israelite. He was a Jake, because the 2 Edomites, what happened was an old man and one teenager and another young kid happened to run across them and see them, you know, so they were going to give them away. So the other 2 Edomites wanted to kill everybody, But the guy that Mark Wahlberg plays said, "Nah, you can't kill him. This ain't right. This is just a child and an old, children and an old man." So he was like kind of bickering back and forth with them, and then the captain, the one that was the leader, he wasn't saying anything, and then he took Mark Wahlberg's side, But the other two wanted, because they were straight up Edomites. They wanted to kill those Afghanis, right? So what happened was he was the only one that made it through. And when he went up into that village, they took care of him. And there was a name that they had for that law, where if somebody comes under your roof, you're supposed to protect them at all costs, no matter what. And that's something biblical, like during the time of Lot, And when you go forward in time, I believe it was in the book of Judges. I believe he was a Levite, and his woman was his concubine, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. And the Benjamites wanted to have sex with him, So what they did was they threw out the woman, his concubine, and they tore her. They ran trains on her all the way till she pretty much dropped dead. But the man that was in the house didn't want anything to happen to his guest, to the man. You see? So that's all, the Eastern religion. All right. So now, which leads us to the last article here, Americanization, which is nothing more than modern Hellenization. I'm not sure how to say the Roman equivalent of it, but every time an empire took over, they impressed their values, and their way of thinking and their way of life upon all the peoples that they conquered. So Americanization in countries outside the United States of America, Americanization is the influence American culture and business have on other countries, such as their media, cuisine, business practices, popular culture, technology, or political techniques, and even as far as the mindset, because you have, these heathens over there sagging their pants, just doing different things that they do here in America. Why? Because Americanization, which is nothing more than Westernization. All right. Now, before we read on any more there, if we have time, we'll come back to it. Let's go to Revelation 17:1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked with me, saying unto me, Salakia, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And the great whore is America, and the many waters represents peoples and nations and tongues. You can read about that in the 15th verse. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Now, how have the kings of the earth committed fornication with her or adultery with her? Because they have partaken of their philosophies, of their democracy, of their Christianity, of their way of thinking, of their philosophy and way of life. So much that you go to these different nations, you almost think that you're in America. Except for when you hear the people speaking, you know you're in a foreign land. But if you just go there and you're just looking, you see McDonald's, you see different corporations that are here in America, Burger King and all of that, Taco Bell or whatever the hell they have over there, Hooters, which is a blatant slap in the face of their ancestors, because here it is, they're bringing a culture there of a country that's known for colonizing everybody, for destroying everybody, for destroying the union of a man with a woman, of destroying the minds of people to make them think that they can be homosexuals and lesbians and transgenders and LGBTQXYZ, and all of that. So it says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication, because they've drank of the philosophies of America. And now they're drunk off of it. Pretty much they're bugged out. Let's see. I thought I had Jeremiah here. I guess not. Let me bring this here before Jeremiah 51. Just get this real quick, then we could go back. Matter of fact, let me put this one here. It says Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken, because all these nations have partaken of America's philosophies, of the American way, which is called what? Americanization, which is the modern Hellenization. They came out of the same root, because the Greeks were one of the 7 heads, and America is the 8th head. It says, the nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, meaning they're bugged out, and also they're pissed off. So now going back to Revelation 17:3, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And this 7 heads and 10 horns represents the beast, which is their whole system, all of the empires of Esau, including the European Union, which is called today, it used to be called the EEC, or the European Economic Community. Today it's called the European Union, and also dealing with NATO, because this is the whole empire of Esau, the not just America and ancient Rome and the other 7 heads, or 6 or 5 heads, 6 heads, but also their allies. It says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. Why? Because America was at one time known as the Golden City, where everybody believed this place was paved in gold, and you come here to prosper, which they did for a period. But really, when you go in there, there's nothing but putrefying sores, and the way you get stuff is all by deception. The way things are sold here, it's all deception. Like the scriptures say, that as a nail sticketh between the stones, so does sin stick closely between selling and buying. Because whenever you're selling and buying in business, especially in this society, there's always some bullshit. Like you'll go to a T-Mobile or Verizon or anything like that, and then you're getting a new phone, and then you have to get the accessories and the case and the protective cover. And you're getting the protective cover and all that. Well, the protective cover is $40, but we're gonna give it to you for $20. Motherfucker, this shit only costs $15-20. You're blowing fucking smoke up my ass. You're telling me that the shit is $40 so that I can feel better. You're telling me I'm gonna give it's $40, but I'm gonna give it to you for $20. You're giving it to me for the same price. You're just telling me that it costs more so I can feel better about you telling me that I'm getting it half price. No, I'm not getting it half price. That's how these devils are, man. It says, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication, because they're pushing that foul, degenerate, perverse spirit on the world through what's known as Americanization. All right. It says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And the Lord is going to destroy this place. As you read further down, the Lord is going to destroy this place. But what's happening now is the revival of the men of the Lord and the elect of the Lord waking up. So 2 Ezra 6:25, whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world, because there's an end to this world, which is the end of Esau's world. When Yahushua comes back, the main enemy he's coming to visit is Esau. Who is this that cometh with Edom with dyed garments? It says, and the men that are received shall see it, meaning who? The elect that are received, what? That have been sealed from the beginning shall see it. Shall see what? The destruction of America, and also they shall see through the bullshit, who have not tasted death from their birth. Because like Yahushua said, there are some standing here that shall not taste of death. And the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed. Why? Because the world was under the darkness of Esau's rule through his deception that started in the Renaissance period. But now the men of the Lord, the elect, are seeing through his bullshit and have a different heart, because the Lord put a different heart in his men to be able to see through the madness. That's why if at all possible, they would deceive the very elect, but they can't deceive the very elect because they're sealed. It says, and turned into another meaning, because no longer are we looking at Esau as our savior. Matter of fact, let's go from there to what is that? Is that Isaiah 10 and 20? Isaiah 10 and 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, meaning the elect, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the Holy One of Israel, in truth, because this is the anointing that's gonna deliver us from it. You know, beginning with the anointing, which is this truth. Verse 27, and it shall come to pass in that day that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. All right. So going back, read that again, 26. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth, and the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. And this is what's happening right now. This is why this devil is being revealed. And the truth, which hath been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And that's what's happening right now. Because before the Lord destroys this place, like it tells you in the book of Habakkuk, that the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the Lord. And that's what's happening right now. This is why this thing has gone global. And this is why Esau is nervous now. And they're trying all different type of tactics to destroy this truth. But they can't destroy it because it's of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and not of man. So Ephesians 4 and 22, that ye put off concerning the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt, according to the deceitful lust. Because you have what? Americanization, Westernization, Western mentality. And be renewed in the spirit of your mind. And this is where it starts. It starts in the mind. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And that you put on the new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness. And this is what Esau's seeing now. The Lord setting up his men in order before his face, and they get nervous because they know that all the wickedness that they've done has caught up to them, and now they got to pay, and they don't want to pay. That's why they're making all kinds of excuses. It's Psalms 102 and 24. I said, "O my power, take me not away in the midst of my days. Thy years are throughout all generations. Of old thou hast laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of thy hands. They shall perish." Why? Because there's going to be new heavens and a new earth, meaning a renewed earth and a renewed heaven. With a renewed, it's going to be new. It's going to be under new management. You know, it's going to be up under new management. But thou shalt endure. Yea, all of them shall wax old like a garment. Why? Because this world, America, especially America and Israel, and certain parts of the earth will be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction. As a vesture shalt thou change them, and they shall be changed. And we're in the beginning stages of this, which the change comes with what? With revealing them first with the truth. And afterwards, the Lord will come and destroy them with the brightness of his coming. So what else we got here? Romans 12 and 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto the Lord, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Because now there's no excuse. Now the truth is out. Now the mysteries are revealed. You know, the seals have been broken by Yahushai, and the mysteries have been revealed. And the people of the earth have been revealed, who they really are, who the Israelites are. You know, it says that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High, because the Most High is coming to bring judgment upon those that don't accept and do his will, and they harden their heart, which really technically is the Lord hardening their hearts. Salakia. And I think that pretty much it. Let's see. The term has been used since at least 1907. While not necessarily a pejorative term, it is most often used by critics in the target country who are against the influences, right? Because there's some people that are against the influences of America, and that's why they call America the Great Satan. Let's see what this says. Samuel, the Americanization of Canada. Americanization has become more prevalent since the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1989 through 91, and especially since the advent of widespread high-speed internet use started in the mid 2000s. And as their Babylonian juice was pushed faster through the internet, so the truth has been pushed even faster and harder through the internet. Because the Lord, is the great equalizer. So he's equalizing Esau. It's just like a master boxer. You have a boxer that's wild. He's just throwing all kind of punches. And if he catches one of them punches, you're going down. But a master boxer will sit there and move and counter punch, and tag him to the body, and move around, and he find an opening, pam, pam, he hit him and move around, get on his bike a little bit, come back, and start working the body. And eventually, before you know it, that wild punching boxer is going to get tired. And then that's when the master boxer comes in there and just starts hitting them with, all kind of combinations. And before you know it, that wild boxer is on his ass. So that's what's happening right now. The Lord is using the truth to bust up Esau's wild ass, Salak, says in recent years, there is growing concern about Americanization through Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, Apple Inc., and Uber, among many other United States tech companies. It says European governments have increasingly expressed concern regarding privacy issues, as well as antitrust and taxation issues regarding new American giants. And that's pretty much it. If you brothers want to read more, like I said, I put all of these in the description box. But this is the influence of Western culture. It leads to death. All right, matter of fact, let's end off with that scripture. What is that? Proverbs 14:22. There's a couple of them. Do they not err that devise evil? Damn, that's a bad one, but that's not what I was looking for. But mercy and truth shall be to them that devise good. Damn. Do they not err that devise evil? And that's the evil device, man, is this Babylonian juice. But mercy and truth shall be to them that devise good. Trying to look for the one precept, 12. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So this Babylonian juice, Americanization, westernized mentality, whatever you want to call it, is going to lead to death. And as you see here, this looks like Oriental writing or so-called, Chinese or whatever it is. It says McDonald's in China. And look, McDonald's. I mean, they got their flavor to it, but it's still the McDonald's which started where? Here in the Western world. All right. So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say shalom.